Great. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Katrina Seidel, and I serve as Vera's Chief Growth Officer. I'm calling in from a rare sunny afternoon in London here and joined by my colleagues, Astatus Blauvelt, our Senior Director of Engineering and Innovation, and Zach Kaufman, our co-founder and CEO. You'll hear from all three of us over the course of the next 30 minutes. We're here to talk about something we're genuinely excited about and have been for a while, a practical opportunity for nonprofits, funders, UN agencies, and social enterprises to access one of the most powerful AI tools on the market. Today is called Unlocking AI for Social Impact, and that's what we intend to do. We want to make this real, practical, and hopefully leave you with a clear sense of what's possible and what your next step could be. Today, we aim to meet three objectives. First, we want to build a clear picture of what Claude for Nonprofits is, the program, the platform, and what it means for your organization. Second, and I think this is the part that hopefully many of you will find most compelling, we're going to show you Claude in action through 3 live demos. We'll walk through document generation using Claude Skills, intelligent grants management connecting Claude directly to Salesforce and AMP impact data, and some connected workflows that bring Claude, Gmail, and Asana together in one place. And thirdly, we'll leave some time at the end to point you towards some next steps to hopefully steward you along your journey. We have question functionality. It's in the chat, and we'd encourage you to drop any questions over the next 30 minutes. If we don't get to them all on the call, we'll happily schedule a follow-up call to discuss further. And with that, I'll pass it over to Zach to share a bit of context about who we are and why we're here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Katrina. It is great to be with everyone, and really big thanks to everybody for joining us today. It's awesome to see so much interest in this topic. So I'll give you a little bit of background on Vera, and I think it's really important first and foremost to understand that we're a mission-driven company, right? We most of us at Vera come from the social sector. Katrina, Acides, and I all worked in nonprofits earlier in our career. And in Vera's case, we really grew out of a nonprofit organization in South Africa 16 years ago. It was an adolescent health organization that I used to oversee monitoring and evaluation for. We had very different kinds of systems back in 2008, 2009. It was all paper and spreadsheets and more spreadsheets. And we set out to overhaul those systems. We moved onto the Salesforce platform for strengthening our monitoring and evaluation, getting data into the hands of everybody across the organization, and it totally changed how we worked. It was an early example of a Salesforce-based program management and M&E system. And other organizations started coming to us and saying, "Hey, this is exactly what we need. How do we do this?" And so we set out to help other organizations go through the same kind of transformation, and created Vera as a B Corp with this mission of amplifying the impact of the social sector using technology and data. The reason we exist is saving organizations time, money, and headaches, and really driving better accountability and better insights across the sector. Over the last 16 years, we've grown to a team of 145 staff. We've served more than 450 organizations, really working with organizations now all over the globe across 150 plus countries. And while we've become an important player in the Salesforce for Nonprofits ecosystem, especially in the global health and international development space, we know that the world doesn't just revolve around Salesforce, and we've really been branching out and broadening our services and our expertise to ensure that we're working with all the best tools and platforms on the market so that we're best positioned to be able to change how organizations work and really, as I said, save them time, money, headaches, drive better insights, better accountability. So that's naturally brought us into the AI world. But before we ran ahead AI-ifying everything that we do, we first set out to define 9 principles for responsible AI. And this is a great piece you can check out on our website if you want to dig into it. We were focused on ensuring that we're grounding all of our work in ethics, in transparency, in fairness and privacy and security, in accountability, in human oversight, but also looking at the environmental impact of the models that we use and making sure that we're focused on use cases that actually drive real-world business or social value for the organizations that we serve. And so this journey with AI really began back in 2023, 2024, as we built out our first set of internal AI tools. So we built out a number of RAG applications that using open source models that we used internally for a variety of different use cases, particularly building up expertise around our flagship product, AMP Impact, to drive better support for our customers, faster answers to questions. From there, we moved into building out an Agentforce plugin for AMP Impact. Again, that's our flagship product. It's That's a tool on Salesforce that you should check out, but not the focus of the whole webinar today. That plugin was really using Agentforce's AI capabilities to generate summaries of project and impact data. It's a plugin that's available on the App Exchange and available as part of AMP Impact or for any AMP Impact customers. We also moved into starting to leverage Claude more and more, and we've been using it across our teams. So we can speak to how we use Claude as an organization, in addition to how we're helping other organizations use it. And we see Claude as having just massive potential and value for our product development, for our business development, for our operations, whether we're talking about how we train staff or how we build products and solutions. It's truly been a game changer, and we'll dig into some of the capabilities that make it that in a few moments. And then that's also brought us into this what we'll speak about now, which is our partnership with Anthropic as one of 4 strategic integration partners in bringing Claude for nonprofits out to organizations like you. So I'll hand back to Katrina to talk a little bit more about that partnership.
Great. Thanks, Zach. So for us, Anthropic was really a national partnership for Vera, particularly in the AI space. As you heard, it really comes down to values alignment and a clear set of practical advantages. On the mission side, Anthropic exists to ensure the world safely navigates the transition to transformative AI. And both of our organizations are taking the responsibility of what we're building seriously and bringing that to organizations like the folks we have on this call accordingly. Within this, there are 5 key reasons that align with our kind of 9 principles of responsible AI that we just saw. The first is trust. Claude models are amongst the least likely to hallucinate on the market, which is particularly important for us on the call today and nonprofits working with vulnerable communities and sensitive data. The second is privacy. Claude extends strong data protection guarantees and real transparency into how data is handled. Thirdly, Claude doesn't train on your data without opting in. We found that that's certainly important as we're continuing to leverage and build upon our Claude usage internally. Fourth, they have verified nonprofit discounts up to 75%, and this is really just helping make frontier AI genuinely accessible to organizations around the globe of all sizes, or nonprofits around the globe of all sizes. And fifth, there's nonprofit-specific content, which we'll look at in a moment. So these include MCPs and Claude Skills designed in this sector, and in a moment, you'll get to see some of those in action. So in December last year, Anthropic launched their Claude for Nonprofits program, and you may have seen this a little bit out there already. It's built on 4 pillars. So first, it's the platform itself. It's Claude for Enterprise and the API, and this is available to eligible nonprofits at $96 per user per year. Second, it has these layers, these connectors, and Claude is natively integrated with nonprofit-specific tools such as Candid for foundation research or Benevity for corporate giving and cause discovery, alongside many other tools you may already be using, and we'll look at some of these in a moment too. Third is the partner layer, and as Zach mentioned, Vera sits alongside other partners such as Bridgespan, Slalom, and Idealist Consulting as one of the 4 inaugural strategic implementation partners. And really what that means is we're here to help you not just adopt Claude, but adopt it responsibly and effectively. And fourth is this enablement layer. And this is kind of the AI Fluency for Nonprofits course that we'd highly recommend. We'll share at the end as well. It's available free through the Anthropic Academy, and it serves as kind of one of the ways that organizations can kind of get started in orienting to the larger kind of initiatives at hand. And with that, we want to kind of break down really what are these features of Claude and how can you use it? So there's 3 primary ways your organization can start using Claude. The first is the Claude app, and this is the most accessible starting point. You open Claude, you start a conversation. Within the app, you have 2 powerful features. The first is skills, and the second is projects. A Claude skill is essentially kind of a curated instruction file. It tells Claude how to produce high quality outputs for a specific task, like generating a funder report in your organization's format. A Claude project is a shared workspace where your team can store documents, context, and institutional knowledge, so Claude always has the right background to help you. The second here are MCP integrations, and this is to help kind of bring together your tools in a central place. For those of you who MCP might be a new term, it stands for Model Context Protocol, and it's an open standard that allows Claude to connect directly with the apps and data your organization already uses right inside the chat interface. You can ask a question, Claude pulls from your live data, and you can get an answer grounded in your actual context. The key insight here that we found is that Claude doesn't replace your tools, it becomes the intelligent layer that connects them. So instead of living in 5 different systems, your team can get answers and take action from one place. Just to give you a bit of the kind of breadth of what the MCP ecosystem looks like, and I think particularly for nonprofits, you can connect Claude to communication and collaboration tools like the Google Suite, Slack, and Microsoft 365 products, planning and work management tools like Asana and Monday, data analysis tools like Power BI or Tableau. And we'll look at actually within the demo shortly what some of this looks like in practice. The third layer here is the Claude API. So this is for organizations that really want to build custom solutions. So embedding Claude directly into your website, a donor portal, case management system, or building out custom workflows. This does require some engineering, but it's something that we've been exploring with several organizations here at Vera and also leveraging ourselves. And the possibilities are quite significant with this. And we're kind of keen to get a little bit more into this with several of our clients and other interested organizations in the coming months. Beyond this, some of you may have heard of Claude Cowork and Claude Code, both of which products we'll explore in further demos and in a future webinar, and happy to kind of provide a demo of those in a future space. So each of these features can really be leveraged to support the whole nonprofit lifecycle. And a few components that we're particularly excited about are supporting impact analysis through program data aggregation, conducting budget variance analysis and reallocating recommendations for funders, creating staff training materials, and transforming annual reports into social media campaigns. We generally just don't see this as a tool for one person or one department, but rather for organizational infrastructure. And that's how we're thinking about the larger pilots and kind of advisory practices that we're conducting with existing organizations. And with that, time to get into a little bit of the nitty gritty of what Claude is. So I will pass it over to Asadis to see what some of this looks like in practice. Our first demo is going to be of connected workflows and kind of supporting the system access using the Claude Skills feature. So over to you, Asadis.
Thanks, Katrina. Greetings from not so sunny Helsinki. So what we're looking at here is the Claude interface. It looks similar to other tools, ChatGPT or Copilot. But what we're going to demonstrate today is Claude being set up as a collaborative team member using the Claude Skills feature. And the skill being given context about your work through markdown files. So there are some template skills here, but we're going to focus on this Academy donor update skill, which leverages some of the other things that we've talked about. So a skill is made up of markdown files, which are human readable, and then easily contextualized by Claude. So we're going to start out in this project. And a project is basically a compartmentalized workspace for skills, connectors, and different context documents that you can kind of keep track of a specific initiative all in one place. And Claude keeps the context of that narrowed to that specific workspace. So we're going to start by launching the skill just by asking a simple question. So for this demo, we have an Acro Foundation that we're preparing to do a donor update to. So based on my question, it's inferred the tool it has to use, and then all of the connectors that I've hinted in the markdown file it should reach out to, which in this case is the project on Asana, and then also the G Suite calendar events, any other documents, call notes. And then what we've done is we have a predefined template for what that output should look like. And basically Claude is just going in, gathering fresh data, and then filling in the blanks. So you'll see the results of that in a minute. There isn't a limitation to how many external systems you can connect to retrieve this data. It's just that, high value systems and ones that you can manage, the time it might take to retrieve the data. So you can see now the PowerPoint being updated with fresh data, and there it is. And then in turn, Claude has also recommended some talking points, some potential questions that the donor might have, and how they might answer them with last notes and current data from the project management system, any budget information. And then you can open up that asset that's been created. In this case, it's a PowerPoint, but it could be anything, a PDF, a spreadsheet, whatever you want. And then you can open up that directly in this case, G Suite, but you can also download it to open up in Microsoft PowerPoint or any other productivity suite. So yeah, that's a skill. Thanks. We'll pass it over to you, Zach.
Yeah, sure. Very cool. What I think is particularly cool with that example is we can just see the orchestration that Claude is doing here. Where it's connecting to various different tools. We saw it connecting to Asana and pulling tasks from Asana. We saw it connecting to GCal, connecting to Google Slides. In that case, there was a question in the asked earlier around whether Claude can connect to and integrate with SharePoint, which it can, or OneDrive. So you can really kind of see the orchestration happening live there. The other thing that I like is it's showing you kind of how it's thinking, right? It's telling you, okay, I should use this skill that you've trained me on. And so you can kind of see you can see the skills, real time kind of coming into use. Great. So we can move. We got another demo where we'll look a little bit at a different kind of connector to Salesforce and to AMP Impact, but we'll take another look at skills and Claude connectors in context here. So with this example, we're gonna look at really kind of how skills and connectors come together to create even more power. So we saw with the status example just now some standard connectors and putting those into practice. You can also set up custom connectors. So we've got another project here, the Catalyst Aid MCP demo. So we're gonna click into this project, and this project has been set up with a custom connector that's pointing to Salesforce and specifically a system with AMP Impact on it and the AMP Impact Grants plugin. So we're able to bring in real-time impact intelligence and grant management intelligence as well. So it's able to look at the grant pipeline, it's able to look at financials, it's able to look at impact data, and you can see everything that's kind of set up with this connector. So it's actually got 17 tools that are set up just once, and then everybody who has Claude in the organization is able to make use of these tools that we've set up with this connector. So from the connector, we can also set up a skill and help teach Claude how do you interpret the data. So this is where the power starts to come in, is how do we make sense of the data that's in AMP Impact? We can train it up on, what do all the different kinds of data mean? What are the key fields to be looking at for this kind of intelligence or that kind of intelligence? So here we can see at kind of all the logic in these skills. It tells it, use this skill when a user asks questions like these or those or these or those. And then it gives Claude an overview of the data model. It gives Claude insight into, the kinds of analysis that users might want to be running. So we put a lot of time and thought into, this. You can think of this as kind of V1 of this MCP for AMP Impact. So let's ask a question now of this. We're chatting with Claude, but we're pulling data from Salesforce by asking it for a portfolio health overview. So now Claude is going to think about that. It's going to go look into the data. It's going to check. It says, okay, I need to use my AMP Impact skill for this to give guidance on what to do. So it's loading that up. It's loading the tools to get the connector, firing that up to go connect to the portfolio data from AMP Impact. And then boom, it's going to be able to start running some analysis for us and updating us on KPIs. So we don't have to go looking into Salesforce even. We don't have to go setting up new reports or dashboards. We're able to get that intelligence right here within Claude. We could also bring it together with, as we saw with the Status demo, other tools or other sources. So we can look at how much funding is being dispersed. We can look at how that's broken down by the different stages. We can look at our funding by country, across our grantees, so on and so forth. So it's a grant management example, but this would equally work if you were an implementer wanting to explore the data. If we dig into the financial side, again, this is also data coming from AMP Impact, but maybe you've got an ERP system that you want to pull financial data from. You could have the same conversation talking to multiple tools. In this case, it's pulling AMP Impact disbursement data, expenditure data, so we can look at what's been spent, what's been dispersed, and then we can also look at kind of real-time expenditure that's been reported back to the funder based on spend in the grants. How much budget's being utilized and so forth. So then we can also drill down on the data, right? So we don't have to, again, go through a complicated dashboard or train people up on that. We could just using natural language, we could ask questions like, drill down on this country, on Kenya, or drill down on this theme or this outcome area. And then Claude will do the appropriate analysis there, kind of update the queries to just filter it to Kenya. So it's a really interesting sort of new age of business intelligence here, I think, where we bring AI and BI together to get this kind of insight. We saw with a CEDIS example how skills can also be used to produce assets or artifacts. And again, we can use skills not just for telling Claude what data to look at, how to interpret the data, what kind of analysis to run. But you can also train it up on your style guide and like what is a donor report look like for you? What does a board deck look like for your organization? These are things that you can train Claude up on once and then be able to use over and over time. I'll pass back to Cetus for one more demo.
Thanks, Zach. This demo is a little different. We're going to show the Claude agent layered on top of a data source. In this case, we're using a data lake tool called MotherDuck, but it could be any data lake or data warehouse tool that you might use. So this dashboard isn't built using Power BI. It isn't built using Tableau. It's actually built using the Claude agent. The Claude agent has generated the markdown and code for this, which is kind of cool, but that's not really the point. So what we're going to really focus on is the ability of the Claude agent to talk to different data sources. In this case, we're connected to MotherDuck, but we also have other connectors. We can connect it to any MCP power tool and analyze data alongside and synthesize that data together in a single place. And this visualizations can look however you want. These are just simple markdown to keep it fast. And the guiding, I'll show you how this is guided in a second. It's guided in a similar way that we looked at in a skill. So right here, and you can prompt to the agent to kind of go down a pathway of drilling into the data further and further. So because there's some exciting features coming from MotherDuck. We'll do another webinar on creating dynamic visualizations that are shareable in a later release, but it'll be another webinar. So cool. So you can ask whatever question you want. We've just kind of guided a few questions. And when you see the markdown for this, what the markdown does is infer from the question what query to run. So you can make the results. I mean, it's still non-deterministic. It's still an LLM, but you can make the results more deterministic. Let's say by defining in advance, this is the actual SQL query that I want to execute, or whatever API call to your remote data source. So we'll take a look at that markdown here. So it's human readable. The markdown itself doesn't need to be perfect for the agent to understand. Here we have some of the prompts we've created. So you could go in and edit this, add new fields. And again, this isn't the point, but we're just showing that end to end, the agent SDK can be integrated to be dynamic in a way that it is technical, but not too technical, where you could maintain it yourself potentially. So you can see the different data types. This is how we ground the agent to tell it this is what we're talking about when we talk about AMP and we ask about AMP data. So you don't need to remember all of these things. And the cool thing is the markdown itself has also been inferred and generated by the agent. So it's kind of full circle, and then you can go and hand edit it after. So it's just a cool use case of how the agent can assist in many different ways, creating the visualization, steering the data, querying the visualization, and understanding the data. And then the dashboard itself, again, that's markdown created by the data. I don't think we showed that. Okay, we didn't. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, Cetus. We're getting a lot of great questions that are coming in. So please continue to drop those, and we'll highlight a few and surface a few in just a moment as well. Great. So we just saw a lot of what might be possible with Claude. And based on some of the questions we're getting, it seems like some of you might want to kind of further geek out and explore specific ideas as to what Claude can do within your ecosystem. We would love to chat. The QR code on the screen and the link that Charlotte will now drop into the chat will take you directly to a form capture where you can share further details about what you might be interested in and what you might want to chat further about. Specifically, we want to invite you to join a Vera AI peer learning group. We're kicking these off in the coming weeks as an extension of our current AMP Impact peer learning groups for those of you who may have been in one of those or benefited from one of those in the past. If you indicate your interest, we'll send further details in the coming weeks about this and are hoping to really connect folks around some of these topics. Secondly, if you want to start a Responsible Claude for Nonprofits pilot and see what this looks like to explore a use case or something that you've been kind of ideating or dreaming of, we're happy to have a further conversation around this. If you're not quite ready to explore Claude, or if you're leveraging potentially other internal LLMs, but you want maybe some support in setting up your AI center of excellence or establishing your AI values, we're happy to set up an initial AI strategy consultation and can explore what this would look like further. You can also sign up for Claude.ai and experiment if you want to start experimenting. On the other learning side, we recognize there's quite a few resources out there. Here are a few that might be helpful that were referenced on the call today. The first is the Claude AI Fluency for Nonprofits course. We recommend it, and again, we can happy to share this and follow up. The second is just you're welcome to start an AI readiness assessment. We have a readiness assessment that's served as a starting point for most of our AI advisory engagements, as well as any sort of Claude for Nonprofit build. And it's been a helpful starting point for organizations to cross-functionally assess where they're at and kind of see how they might be able to get started. We can also share you our AI tool scorecard if you'd like to kind of holistically score the AI tools that you're using or considering. And we can also dig further into the 9 principles of responsible AI. We'll drop a link in the chat, and you're welcome to kind of respond to those, and we'll follow up accordingly. Additionally, if you're interested in kind of continuing this conversation, Zach and Asadis will be leading a session at the upcoming AI Impact Clarity Summit in April. It's a virtual event. It's free over the course of 3 days from the 13th to 15th. And if you would like an invite, feel free to reach out, and we're happy to send one there. Are there any questions that we want to highlight on the call before we wrap up?
Yes, lots of good questions. Quite a lot of questions around security. I've tried to answer those live. Maybe Asidis, you want to just add on that, and then we spoke to kind of Salesforce security. Usman also asked, what measure does Vera put in place to ensure data protection once Claude has access to it? So you want to speak to that, Asidis? You're on mute, my friend.
Sorry, I was happily typing away here. I think the answer to that is yes, it depends, but with MCP connectors, with the AMP Impact connector, we're using the existing security model for Salesforce or the other. So we're just using the Salesforce OAuth model. So once you connect to your Salesforce system, every individual has to connect using their Salesforce credentials. And once they have that connection and they have their session token, it follows the same rules as any other Salesforce external app. So they can't see anything that they wouldn't be able to see in Salesforce anyway. And at this point, we're not planning any write features to Salesforce, maybe in the future. And I think that maybe answers some of the questions around Agentforce versus Claude. We're seeing them as complementary, and it's obvious that Agentforce is an excellent solution for working within the Salesforce ecosystem. And then outside, Claude is kind of connected to everything. And has a lot more capability in terms of reading from it, writing to others, other data sources as well.
Cool, great. And broadly, that approach applies to other tools as well, right? As you're kind of logging in to pass your credentials into Asana or GCal or whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then one thing to point out, I think maybe we mentioned this earlier, but Claude doesn't, you have to opt in to let Claude train on your data, unlike with other tools where you're sort of default opted in. You don't have to let Claude train on your data. So you're not giving Anthropic access to your data or any of your chats just by using the tool.
Yeah.
Okay. Lots of other good questions here. Is any of these other ones that you wanna speak to here?
Yeah, there's a lot there. I think there's one mentioned around carbon generate. It's something we think about a lot as a B Corp. So I'll say watch this space. We're working on frameworks as part of our center of excellence with our green team to kind of come up with some tools to measure the carbon impact. And yeah, we'll be happy to share those, but it's something we definitely think about and are working on, right? And it's something that everyone needs to consider for sure.
Definitely. Thanks for raising that, Claire. And Johnny asked a great question. Says, amazing to see the interactions and visualizations. What are your thoughts on the opportunities for using Claude for forward-looking decision-making, what-if scenarios, predictions in conjunction with program data?
Yeah, I think we think a lot about that, and we're hopefully building out tools for that. Another thing to check out is the Claude. There's a Claude plugin for Excel that our finance team has been playing around with, and it does a really great job of what if scenarios and building out models in a spreadsheet. But on top of that, we're continuing to build out our analytics capability, primarily with MotherDuck, and there's some really cool tools for this kind of thing in MotherDuck. But yeah, for sure, I think Claude would do a great job for that use case.
Awesome.
Great. I think that's about it time wise.
Oh yeah, we'll follow. I wanted to answer. There was a good question about telling the truth and not making it up, and that's also super important for us. But Maya, we'll follow up with that. We're going to follow up to all the outstanding questions, so we'll either email everyone or figure out a way to follow up.
And maybe just quickly,
Yeah.
folks had asked about connecting to ERPs, connecting to nonprofit cloud or Salesforce without AMP Impact. And those are all things that you can do using the same approach that we demonstrated for connecting to AMP Impact. So we can leverage that approach for connecting to other Salesforce systems. You can leverage that approach to connect to other tools that don't already have a standard MCP as well. So we'd be really keen to chat more about that if we can be helpful on that front. Katrina, you want to take us home?
Sure. Well, thanks all for dedicating these 30 minutes. We really believe this is one of the most important moments for the social sector to harness technology in the service of mission. And that's clear with some of the questions and engagement that we've had on this call. We don't take it lightly, the responsibility to help organizations navigate it well. Please feel free to reach out. We'll follow up with these questions. We'd love to keep the conversation going so the many folks on this call can continue to learn from each other, and collectively we can continue to amplify the impact of the social sector. Thanks all.
Thanks so much, everybody.